The land of Sumer, situated in the southernmost region of ancient Mesopotamia, corresponds roughly to modern-day southern Iraq, nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This fertile expanse, known as the cradle of civilization, is where humanity first began to transition from nomadic life to complex urban societies. The unique environmental conditions of the region, including the unpredictable flooding of the rivers and the richness of the alluvial plains, significantly influenced the development of Sumerian culture, religion, and mythology. Sumerian civilization arose around 4500 BCE, reaching its peak during the early dynastic period, circa 2900 to 2334 BCE, when cities such as Ur, Uruk, Lagash, Nippur, and Eridu became centers of political, religious, and economic life. Sumerians were pioneers in many aspects of civilization. They developed one of the earliest known systems of writing, cuneiform, which enabled them to record not only administrative and economic transactions, but also myths, hymns, prayers, and epic tales. This written tradition preserved their religious beliefs, stories of gods and heroes, and the cosmological explanations they constructed to understand the world around them. Their mythology, deeply intertwined with daily life, reflected the challenges they faced in controlling the natural environment, navigating the uncertainties of agriculture, and maintaining societal order. The Sumerian worldview was inherently theocentric, meaning that the divine permeated every aspect of existence. The forces of nature were personified as deities with distinct personalities, responsibilities, and temperaments. Rivers, the sky, the earth, the wind, and even abstract concepts like justice and wisdom were seen as manifestations of divine power. Humans, in Sumerian understanding, were created to serve the gods, to cultivate the land, build temples, and perform rituals to maintain cosmic harmony. Failure to honor these divine beings could result in natural disasters, social upheaval, or personal misfortune, demonstrating the close interconnection between religious observance and survival. The earliest Sumerian myths often originated in the sacred cities themselves, each claiming patronage from particular deities. For example, Eridu, considered one of the world's first cities, was associated with Enki, the god of wisdom, fresh water, and creation. Nippur was dedicated to Enlil, the supreme deity who held authority over air, storms, and the destiny of humanity. In Uruk, the goddess Inanna, known for her complex character encompassing love, fertility, war, and political power, dominated religious life. These city-based deities formed a pantheon whose interactions, conflicts, and alliances were central to the mythological narratives that guided Sumerian understanding of both the cosmos and human society. Sumerian myths often served multiple functions. They were didactic, providing moral or social lessons, explanatory, offering reasons for natural phenomena, and legitimizing, reinforcing the authority of kings and priests by linking them to divine favor. The myths, conveyed through oral tradition and later written texts, demonstrated a sophisticated awareness of narrative structure, character development, and symbolic meaning. Even seemingly fantastical elements, such as gods engaging in quarrels, human-like emotions in divine figures, or cosmic battles, were intended to communicate profound truths about life, order, chaos, and human responsibility. One of the most striking aspects of Sumerian mythology is its portrayal of creation and the organization of the universe. The cosmos was seen as a structured and hierarchical space, beginning with a primordial watery chaos, often personified as the goddess Namu. From this chaotic expanse emerged the first gods, who then created the heavens, the earth, and all living beings. Humans were formed not as equals to the gods, but as laborers and caretakers, designed to sustain divine habitation and ritual. This understanding emphasizes the Sumerians' perception of life as an intricate system in which divine will and human effort were intimately linked. Rituals, festivals, and temple ceremonies were integral to reinforcing these mythological concepts. Temples, or ziggurats, were architectural representations of sacred mountains connecting the heavens and the earth. Priests acted as intermediaries, performing daily offerings, prayers, and seasonal rites to ensure the favor of the gods. These religious practices were often accompanied by mythological recitations, hymns, and dramatizations of epic tales, thus embedding the stories deeply into the social and spiritual fabric of Sumerian life. Trade, agriculture, and urban organization further influenced myth-making. The reliance on irrigation and the seasonal flooding of the rivers underscored the importance of water gods like Enki and Namu.
Other significant deities include Utu, Shamash, the sun god and god of justice, who illuminated the world, brought order, and upheld truth and law. Nanna, Sin, the moon god, symbolizing cycles, time, and divine guidance. And Ninhursag, or Ki, the earth goddess, associated with fertility, mountains, and the creation of life. Each of these gods held specific functions and was worshipped in dedicated temples, often with their own priesthoods and rituals. The relationships among the gods were intricate and often mirrored human society, with alliances, rivalries, and familial ties shaping divine narratives. Myths recount the cooperation and conflicts among gods in the creation of the world, the organization of cities, and the governance of humanity. For example, while Enki might devise strategies to protect humans from Enlil's wrath, Inanna could pursue her own goals independently, demonstrating the god's autonomy and agency. These interactions reflect the Sumerians' understanding that the world was governed by a balance of competing forces, both divine and mortal, and that humans had to navigate this complexity with piety, ritual, and ethical conduct. Sumerian kingship was deeply entwined with these deities. Kings were considered chosen or sanctioned by gods such as Enlil or An, and their authority was often framed in mythological terms. Royal inscriptions frequently recount divine endorsements, victories granted by the favor of particular gods, and the building of temples to honor deities. This integration of mythology and governance reinforced social cohesion, legitimized political power, and underscored the importance of maintaining ritual observance to ensure both human prosperity and cosmic harmony. In sum, the major Sumerian deities were not distant abstractions, but active, relatable forces shaping the cosmos and human society, and represented ultimate authority. Enlil enforced divine order, Enki guided humanity with wisdom and compassion, and Inanna embodied the dynamic interplay of passion, power, and transformation. Sun, moon, and earth deities regulated time, justice, and life's fertility. Together, they formed a pantheon that mirrored the complexities of the natural world, human ambition, and societal structures, illustrating a civilization profoundly attuned to the divine dimensions of existence. Through understanding the roles and personalities of these deities, one gains insight into how the Sumerians perceived life, death, power, and morality. The gods were not merely objects of worship, but frameworks for interpreting the environment, guiding human action, and conceptualizing the mysteries of existence. Their stories, temples, and rituals provided both spiritual sustenance and practical guidance, making the pantheon of Sumer an indispensable foundation for one of the earliest human civilizations. Other stories explore the lives and adventures of individual gods, their rivalries, loves, and interventions in human affairs. Inanna's descent into the underworld, for example, portrays death and rebirth, illustrating the cyclical nature of life and the interplay between power, desire, and mortality. Enki's cleverness in overcoming divine challenges demonstrates the value of intelligence, strategy, and compassion in navigating a world governed by complex forces. Such myths serve not only as religious or moral instruction, but also as reflections on the human psyche, societal norms, and the ethical dilemmas inherent in leadership, survival, and coexistence. Sumerian epics and myths were preserved on clay tablets written in cuneiform, often copied and transmitted across centuries. They reveal a civilization that valued storytelling as a means of preserving history, teaching ethics, and connecting with the divine. Temples, rituals, and festivals were not just religious acts, but vehicles for enacting and commemorating these stories, ensuring that myth, history, and culture remained inseparable. Through these narratives, Sumerians encoded their understanding of the world, blending observation, imagination, and spiritual reflection into enduring literary and religious heritage. In summary, Sumerian mythology emerged from a rich interplay of environmental necessity, urban development, religious devotion, and the human desire to understand existence. Its stories, gods, and cosmologies were not abstract entertainments but vital frameworks through which the Sumerians interpreted the world. By recording these myths in cuneiform and transmitting them across generations, they created a legacy that would profoundly shape later Mesopotamian civilizations, including the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Understanding the foundations of Sumerian myth provides essential insight into one of the earliest and most influential systems of human thought, where the divine, the natural, and the human were inseparably intertwined.